Hello, welcome to my Tribe Talk on invoice payment procedures for the Department of Defense. My name is Alan Snyder, and I orchestrate multi-million-dollar deals that range from commodities to classified airframe projects on behalf of the United States Air Force, and I have witnessed firsthand the government payment inefficiencies. I'm going to discuss my wicked problem, provide details of the current situation and impact, possible approaches to the issue, and my plan and execution on solving my wicked problem. Well, folks, my problem isn't saving kids from starvation or trees from being chopped down or a product that changes our lives. It's instead having the government pay businesses faster and innovating a better way for invoices to be paid out. As a taxpayer, have you ever wondered where your hard-earned tax dollars go? Well, 169 billion of them go to late fees, admin costs, and unfortunately, delayed interest payments. My wicked problem is the Air Force contracting invoicing payment procedure. The problem is that there are multiple web-based systems to check WAFT, ADA, IREP, along with other internal organizations to facilitate these contracting payment structures for the CLINs and SLINs. This greatly affects how and when invoices are being paid out for the supplies and services rendered, which hinders speedy and sufficient payments to companies that do business with the DoD. For my next slide, I'll be providing an overview of my wicked problem in depth and why is it a major concern. My problem is classified as a service problem that involves thousands of human resources and hours across several organizations to understand, assess, and correct these late invoices. Unfortunately, there's always constant turnover of personnel within the DoD, and this dampens the government relationship with businesses throughout the world. The scope of the issue is approximately 4,000 invoices per year in 19 countries all around the world. This problem does not consider the delinquent invoices from the Army, Navy, Marines, or Coast Guard. As I mentioned earlier, hundreds of thousands of hours of admin from the Department of Finance Accounting Service, other financial offices, businesses, legal, government agency. And it takes a lot of time and money to remedy these claims, admin, costs, fees, interest, and principal payments owed to processing the invoices. So these delayed payments by the government limit critical cash flow to businesses. The insufficient cash flow limits companies in their daily operating expenses and opportunities to perform future work, whether it be construction, services, manufacturing, or supply. And this is not just a unique problem for the United States, but Australia went through it as well. But they rectified and solved their issue by mandating e-invoicing, shortening that timeline from services to be paid out and for cash to be in bank accounts quicker for small businesses. We can do the same. So why does it matter? The Department of Defense needs to pay businesses quicker because businesses have limited cash flow. The Air Force needs to improve its overall efficiency because it wants to foster a better business environment with a more natural, streamlined payment process. The Air Force needs to improve invoicing methods because it takes 21 plus days for businesses to be paid. Now, frankly, it's unacceptable. Up next, I'll be briefing more limitations of the invoice payment procedure and how it affects the overall issue. Here are some of the limitations of my issue as well as my problem statement highlighted above. The department, for me to solve this issue, I will need $7 to $9 million from the Department of Defense. I then will be able to foster a team and coordinate all the data approving processes between DFAS, Department of Contracting Management Agency, and overall Air Force and other small businesses to develop a good product and a working solution. I then will be able to incubate a developed prototype that can be scaled IT infrastructure using a web-based approach. And with this funding and key resources, I'll be able to create an easy mobile platform allowing all businesses, regardless of size, anywhere around the world, to receive payment. And I plan on doing this all within 24 months. That will be yielding better results for payments and customer satisfaction. However, I do have one large limitation. I will need highly qualified and trained personnel in order to do this and carry it out. The big limitation will be the cost structure of the business model. The development of the interactive computer program built within the Web Technologies on my mobile app will need HTML, CSS, JavaScript to store databases, files, manipulate data, which will allow users to perform tasks quickly and securely over the internet. In proceeding with traditional development, the key resources will be immense labor hours and manning of highly technical skills from web developers to do write and edit code. IT specialists will need to scale a platform all across the world, and cybersecurity will need to protect data connections. This will be the most important and expensive for the product development and scaling of service-oriented architecture. With the right amount of funding, key resources, and personnel, we'll be able to create and scale my IT infrastructure for a mobile app that addresses these invoicing procedures. On this slide, I'll be providing a little bit more context and background of the issue. The problem is, because of the late invoices, the 28-day cycle, it limits our vendors, our pool of companies able and capable of competing for government contracts. We limit the number of business wanting to do business with the government. And frankly, if we don't address this head on, we create more high barriers of entry in this industrial military complex. This frankly causes issues because we hold ourselves to only the large companies of Boeing and Lockheed Martin for our national defense needs, because it restricts capital. Businesses aren't able to hire, aren't able to scale because of these late payments, and it affects our the business environment for all businesses to compete equally across the platform. And some of the factors and forces of my wicked problem that it faces, the limited processing capabilities, as I mentioned. We have a lot of invoices, a lot of internal processes and approvals that need to happen. The Department of Defense has limited staff to handle these high volume invoices and complexity of payouts, not to mention supply chain management issues and having companies adhere to our DoD cost accounting standards. As a result, these companies have problems doing business with us because of our invoicing issue. And we can adapt to them and truly enter the 21st century by streamlining our invoice payment procedures to be faster, to put cash into banks, their bank accounts quicker. And I'll be going over my approaches and steps in solving it. My first potential approach in solving this large and complex issue requires a redesign of the contract post-award process. Not to bore you anymore, but essentially we need to change the Federal Acquisition Regulation and U.S. codes to allow more flexibility, to allow the stakeholders to make prompt payments when they are needed based on sufficient data and approval, allowing contractors as myself and other financial institutions easier access and the authority to approve in a quicker manner. This would change the organizational culture immensely by granting more latitudinal authority and ability to approve. I then need to address the late invoices by outsourcing them to a privatized company to solely focus on paying those out, rectifying, working with companies and other agencies independently, alleviating DFAS from this heavy, burdensome legwork, and for them to focus on the current year invoices, in which we could actually gain ground with aligning the strategy and my goal of developing an app that is supporting cloud-based enterprise service-oriented infrastructure that reduces the contract invoice process to be that reduces the number of invoices, the time it takes to pay out. It alleviates the admin stress, the number of manning hours it takes, and it shortens the timeline. Changing this poorly designed payment invoicing system saves a lot of time and effort, and frankly makes small businesses and large businesses happier. My goal is to develop an IT strategy first, then outsource, clearing the backlog of thousands of invoices and paying companies promptly for what they are due, and then finally cultivate an in-house capability software for these invoice payments. My second approach is creating a quick, easy payment invoicing platform, which is a web-based platform that is decentralized in the hands of the user to approve and release funds quicker on all contracts, regardless of the complexity. This will allow accountability and transparency in reducing that 28-day invoicing process. I've selected this solution because the invoice problem needs to first be cleared out. We need to outsource that. We just don't have the manning and hours to do that as of now, given the labor shortage. Once that is accomplished and we have a manageable 500 to 1,000 invoices that DFAS can handle appropriately, we can create a team and align our IT strategy and build a web-based platform for development to field. Given my experience and understanding of the situation, this will entail a multifaceted execution to solve my wicked problem. The value will be reducing the processing time, admin costs, the actual interest accrued on these invoices. My target market are going to be small businesses that operate with $10 million in revenue or less, or 100 employees. This is a target demographic of minority-owned businesses that are greatly impacted or affected by the impact of limited capital if invoices not being paid out correctly on time. And my proposal will pay out businesses in 50% less time with a 99% accuracy. What makes my wicked problem attractive, the solution attractive for funding and operational uses, is because it's web-based, decentralized. It can be accessed all around the world in a plethora of various languages, with the idea of paying out faster, speedy payments that allow businesses to compete effectively and equally on all platforms. How I will go about advertising is frankly through sourced avenues, the Small Business Administration, DoD media outlets, and honestly the internal relationship between contracting officers and businesses. The goal is for the web-based platform and all operational expenses to be less than $3 million per year, and I believe we can do that. So, in conclusion of my two-pronged solution of outsourcing delayed invoices and creating an in-house app, is a win-win scenario for all parties involved. This is a wicked problem that the Air Force needs to solve. These late payments and delayed payments for invoices create several more interwoven complexities that revolve around cash flow, hindering economic growth, relationships of host nations. My two-prong approach will essentially alleviate those issues. By implementing my two-prong approach, we can affect organizational cultural structures by removing the lateness of the payment barrier. We also increase the need of businesses wanting to do business with the Department of Defense. This could be a win-win for all parties involved, DoD, small business, and taxpayers. It would drive more innovation and quality in our ability to fly, fight, and win with better airframes, shorter acquisition timelines, costs, and more flexibility in meeting our national security and air superiority vision. Thank you for listening to my Tribe Talk and Invoice Payment Procedures. how we can change the way the Department of Defense, the United States Air Force pays businesses quicker, which will enhance many communities and small businesses alike. Thank you. Have a great day.